Hello, beautiful peeps. So a lot of controversy going on at the moment. Keep hearing lots of things about, um, comparing animal agriculture or what's happening to the animals, this mass genocide. Um, you know, People are calling it a Holocaust, and just because a lot of the animal rights activists that are popular and famous, I guess, in a lot of ways, are white men, you know? So a lot of other people are saying, well, if you're a white person who's not Jewish, you shouldn't be able to use the word Holocaust to describe the animal's experience. And that's a form of white supremacy, you know? That's pretty ridiculous. It's pretty ridiculous. How is that white supremacy? There's fucking real white supremacy going on that's causing a lot of people to die and be discriminated against, and people are choosing this time to bring up white supremacy when it's not even fucking relevant, to be honest. Sorry for swearing, it's just really annoying. And it is kind of racist in itself, or everyone else can call it a Holocaust, but if you're a white cis male, then you have no understanding, so can't use that. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of people that were actually in the Holocaust who agree that what the animals are experiencing in animal agriculture is like the Holocaust, you know? The similarities are uncanny. They're stocked, overcrowded, toppled on top of each other, no regard, experiments happening to them, being castrated. Well, the animals are castrated with no pain relief and stuff. And also, the Nazis learnt from farmers on how to build their concentration camps, gassing humans. They gas pigs. That's signed off as humane practice to gas pigs. Even in places like England and stuff where people think, oh, well, it's high welfare. Well, that means nothing. That's just to make the consumer feel less conscious and less bad about things, pardon me. So yeah, people's hating on, I think it started with James Aspey and people hating on him for using the term Holocaust and using the terms rape to explain what's happening to the animals. But it's just pretty ridiculous that people are so pissed off about words but aren't pissed off about the actual Holocaust and rape that's fucking happening to animals. Because it might upset people. Well, it's normally upsetting not even the people that have been through this trauma. It's upsetting other people. This PC world we're in sometimes creates more arguments and more upset between people because everyone's trying to say the right thing rather than be the right way, And if our actions aren't aligning, then, and we've not done the research as well, then you can't really have an opinion on topics, We must learn more about stuff before having an opinion on it. A bit like when you go vegan, suddenly everyone who's not vegan is like a nutrition expert and is telling you what to eat, but then before you're a vegan, nobody cares about nutrition and is all eating junk food and crap. So it's all ego and people just want to be right or wrong or whatever. But it's just pretty ridiculous. Can we just not call it what it is? How does calling it an animal holocaust take away from what happened to people during the Jewish Holocaust in the Nazi regime? It's not taken away because it's just stating that that's how bad it is. It's similar to that. The practices that they're doing and the way that the animals are suffering and being treated are just like how the people in the concentration camps were treated, So just by stating that, it should just help us have more compassion, not be triggered. Even, using the word rape. I've been told not to use the word rape when describing what happens to the animals because it might put people off. Well, does it put people off from raping people by saying the word rape? Or does it put people off not raping people saying the word rape? It's got nothing to do with it. It's just the word rape of explaining forcefully being sexual on someone when they don't want that to happen, you know? Or we could put it into words of forcefully impregnating a cow against her will by putting a hand up her rectum and the other and injecting into her vagina. You could say it like that, or, you know, you can just say rape. And yeah, it may trigger people, but we need to talk more openly about these topics, even with humans, you know, because things just get into arguments rather than just everyone being open and saying it like it is of what's really happening. And, you know, animals are raped. You know, they don't reproduce naturally. They jack off the bull and inject the semen into the cow. And that's just an example with cows, but it happens with all the animals. They don't just naturally reproduce, you know? And then these animals are bred, like cows are bred to produce 10 times more milk than necessary. Like, it goes beyond rape because it's fully exploiting their reproductive system. You know, what if it was like that with humans, forced to be impregnated? You hold your baby for 9 months and then they're taken away straight away on that first day, and you can't see them or connect with them, you know? They're mammals too. They connect with their children just like we do. So there's more sameness than differences. So why are we denying their experience of what's happening? It really is bad, you know? Chickens are forced to produce over 300 eggs per year. They're naturally meant to produce about 12 eggs per year, like a period, once a month, not once a day. So it goes beyond rape. Yeah, maybe we should create a new word, you know? Ultra rape, or I don't know. A new word that goes beyond that, because it's beyond forcefully tampering with them. I know it's not for sexual pleasure, but normally rape isn't for sexual pleasure, it's for power. You know, power over someone and control. And that's exactly within the animal agriculture. And not just for food, but all the ways that we use and abuse animals for human self-gain and pleasure, for fur, for duck down feathers, and they actually pluck them alive so that they produce more feathers. You know, these animals are seen as commodities, not as human, not as their own beings, their own people. And, you know, why shouldn't they have their own rights? You know, they have thoughts, feelings, emotions. They're very complex animals. All animals are complex beings that understand pain and suffering. They feel that. So why would we inflict that on them when it's unnecessary, when we can get everything we need from plants? Why do these practices to the animals, you know? They're not asking for it to be done. They're the most innocent beings. They've not done anything. They're not predators or anything. They're just going about their way, and we keep them, hoard them, make them force them to reproduce, take away their children, take away every part of their life, keep them in conditions that aren't natural to their own natural ways of living. You know, a lot of this does sound like Holocaust things going on, you know? And yeah, they learned from the farmers to create the concentration camps. So the concentration camps are built around what a farm is. So how is that not similar? You know, gassing pigs alive, gassing humans, you know, keeping everyone on top of each other, keeping them against their will in ways that they're not meant to be, you know, tampering with their reproductive systems, tampering with their living, you know, tampering with how much food they're meant to be eating and what they're meant to be eating and things like that, you know, taking away their rights completely. And when the bodies are dead, piling them up on top of each other in a pile in a hole in the floor. The similarities are uncanny. Can we not just call it what it is? If you're outraged by this, why not do your fucking research and get outraged at the animal agriculture system and animal use system? Why are you getting angry at people that have dedicated their whole lives to fighting for the rights of animals and for the rights of humans? Because the amount of destruction that animal agriculture causes to our whole planet and everyone in it. You know, we could end world hunger many times over if we just fed all the food we grow, all the plants we grow to feed to animals, to eat the animals. We could feed the world many times over with those plants instead of the animals, and they'd be getting more nutrition and more calories for less effort. So it's just totally illogical, you know, and a lot of these grains are grown in places like Africa where people are starving, and then they ship that food off to feed to animals, to kill the animals for people in the West to eat, you know, and also species extinction, you know, all the land isn't wild anymore and loads of species are dying. Most land mammals on the earth are cattle, you know, and that's taken up land mass, it's taken up water mass, that creating greenhouse gases more than all the world's transport put together, and, you know, causing ocean dead zones, the heat of the temperature rising and causing climate change. That's also heating up the oceans and destroying coral reef and vital life there. Also all the feces chucked in the ocean, chucked in fields, chucked everywhere, causing disease and stuff. Or not to mention all the things like corona, SARS, foot and mouth, mad cow disease, swine flu, bird flu, all these things that are telling us not to cause harm to the animals and to protect our environment and the animals and not to eat them, to eat plants. We need plants. We die if we don't eat plants. It's just ridiculous that anyone isn't vegan right now. It's ridiculous. It's perplexing. The information's out there, and there's just all signs point to vegan. But yeah, so all this mass destruction caused by animal agriculture, it's worse than a Holocaust because it affects everybody in the world and it's harming everyone in the world. So we need to wake up. So Holocaust isn't even a brutal enough word to explain it, to be honest. I know people are probably going to disagree with this and think it's real harsh. I'm not denying what the people went through in the Holocaust. It was terrible and horrible, and we don't want to see that again. So that's why when we see things like that, we're saying this is like the Holocaust. We need to end this suffering. We need to learn from the past to stop suffering in the future. How are people not getting this, and people just attacking people that have dedicated their lives to help the animals and to help the planet and to help us all live a better life, you know? And yeah, we're trying to make it less harsh on the oppressor. What other justice movement, does that? oh, let's, you know, if you're fighting for civil rights, well, I suppose in a way there was like the people that were wanting to, I suppose some of these arguments do come up, like in civil rights, or people rioting or causing a ruckus. You could say, oh no, that's not the way to do it. Do silent protests, peaceful protests. But then when no one listens to the peaceful protests, you've got to wake them up with a bit of a wah. So this language kind of, with one word, can tell you, touch on how bad it is, you know? Sorry, my battery was going there. So yeah, basically, if one word can trigger an emotion without you having to go on and on for ages about what's happening, people usually switch off sometimes when you're talking about these animals' experiences. But they don't switch off if you say something like Holocaust or rape. But then maybe they do, some people. So sometimes sometimes it's better not to use these words if you're having one-to-one conversation with the general public in the streets or whatever. That's your own personal choice. You might not want to use those words because you don't want to trigger things. But we shouldn't diss other people if they're choosing to advocate in that way and using those words. You can understand why, because it is saying what is going on. Do you know what I mean? And if we look more at the similarities and the differences, we'll begin to see that. And, you know, it's a form of speciesism when we're saying, when we're looking too harshly at the differences, you know? Like, why is the human experience that more superior that we get a totally different set of words for things rather than just saying what is actually happening? You know? Why are people so annoyed about words? Especially when someone could say something like, oh, I could murder a sandwich. So anyone who's experienced murder in their family, oh my God, they might be triggered. And, you know, we can't censor our full language. People have to take responsibility for themselves to look within when they're getting triggered and think, oh, why is this upsetting me? And what is it internally within me of how I'm reacting or responding to this that I need to journey through? Because if we censor everything, no one's gonna be able to express anything, especially the fear of upsetting someone. If none of us talked anytime we thought we were gonna upset someone, probably no one would say anything at all. Oh, it's all right on the internet for people to scroll off and say horrible things constantly, but how dare anyone state the atrocities that's happening to another species of animal and compare it to the human, holier-than-thou human experience of us far superior to all the other animals. Are we really superior, or are we savages? We've got all this technology, information, resources, and complex brains and hands and everything to do all these magnificent things, and so many people take that for granted and just using it to cause destruction and more pain and more disconnect in the world. You know, if we're the most superior, we should be protecting all life on this earth and be putting our brains together and hearts together to create a bright future and a bright now for everybody, all the animals included. Because it doesn't take away from us to show compassion to others. It doesn't take away from us to show compassion to the most innocent, vulnerable beings on the planet, which is all the other animals, you know. humans can exploit animals and exploit each other easily. Animals don't exploit each other. They help each other and work in this symbiosis or in the synchronicities of life, in the circle of life. And we're stepping out of the circle of life through technology and convenience and all these things. We evolve. And which way do we want to evolve? Do we want to evolve properly and into fruition, or do we want to evolve into extinction, or not even evolve, just journey towards extinction? Because that's the way things are going if we don't take this seriously, and if we're all wasting time arguing over what words people are using rather than looking at behind those words of what's actually happening, we're not going to actually get anywhere. Why is it bothering you, people using the words Holocaust or rape? They're just words, and they're what words we give power to in different ways, you know? And there are power behind those words. There's vibrations behind each word. And just those words can touch on the topic, but it's not showing it completely, because you need to actually become aware to see things completely. How are we becoming more aware? It's just like, if people who have actually been in the Holocaust and been raped agree that that is what's going on to the animals and aren't offended by it, then why is all these other people offended by it who it doesn't have relation to? Oh, you don't want to upset people. Do people's feelings really matter compared to the total destruction of our whole planet and all the inhabitants within it? You know, if someone's been... Joey Carbstrong put it well. He was saying, like, oh, someone in the KKK, full racist, is full on doing all horrible things. You won't just walk up to him and be like, oh, sorry, I don't want to offend you and make you feel bad, but you're racist. No, you're going to be like, this is totally wrong what you're doing, and you're going to defend the people that are being oppressed. Well, right now, other animal people are being oppressed. And it's not even just the cows, the pigs, the sheep, the farmed animals that people eat. There's also the animals people use for fur and leather, but that's also what people eat. But there's all sorts of ways animals are used and abused, you know, in circuses and zoos and all sorts, for human pleasure. We're the sick psychopaths that are doing this horrible stuff to animals. And the people that are usually getting triggered are people that don't want to face that. You know, and some people may disagree who are vegans, because we're all trying to find the perfect way to convince the rest of the world to be vegan. So we're arguing about it rather than just cracking on and being like, everyone's doing their best. It's horrible what's happening to these animals. Watch Dominion. Watch Dominion. If you think Holocaust is too much of a harsh word, watch Dominion and see what you think. Although I heard apparently some people from there think that it's harsh using those words. But they can say what they want because they've been in there and took that footage and stuff. But it's all each to their own. I just think it's really annoying people then becoming racist themselves, saying, oh, if you're not white or Jewish, then you can't call it a Holocaust. I mean, if you are white and not Jewish, then yeah, you can't call it a Holocaust. Well, that's kind of racist. Oh, well, everyone else can say that, but not this set of people. You know? call it what it is. More animals die every 3 days from animal agriculture and stuff and other practices. Well, I'm not even sure if it's the other practices as well, but I'm pretty sure like more more animals die every 3 days than all the humans combined in all the wars that's ever been. Yeah, put that into context. Go on online and go on to animal kill count. It tells you in seconds how many animals are dying and the tally's going up. It's ridiculous. It's a Holocaust, you know? And it's not just the Jewish Holocaust that happened as well. There's lots of Holocausts of people that's happened over time. And it's not taken away from the people by using those terms for animals when it is the same thing that's happening. So I just think people need to stop getting upset about words and get upset about the actions that's happening and take action themselves. We can't judge anyone else. We've just got to work on our own actions and what we're doing. Sorry, it's a bit of a ranty one today, but I've just been seeing a lot of it and it's just causing more separation and division. And we can't back down and be on the side of the oppressor. We must speak up for the animals. They can't talk human. They are speaking, and it seems to be only the vegans that are listening. So we take it on as our responsibility to inform the rest of the world what is happening. And we do that the way we feel best. And I wouldn't say it's white supremacy of people, white guys, saying these things. Maybe it might be a bit white privilege in a way, but that is in a way of less people get annoyed of them saying it. I feel like I can't say those things because it's hard enough for people to listen to me anyway, because people generally listen to white guys a lot easier than a woman of color and just a woman in general. People, well, women can get mansplained and we have to deal with all that stuff and things, and sometimes that can make us a little bit more meek on some issues because when you can be overlooked and talked over and things like that, or just find it a bit harder to get yourself out there and just speak openly without judgment of all the other things. Do you get what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but sorry, what I was trying to say is that the white privilege that white men get gives them an extra boost of confidence compared to most other people. So if they're going to use that confidence to exude and go out there and fight for the animal rights with less backlash from people, because vegans get loads of backlash anyway, I think it's good that they're using their privilege for good use to help the less privileged. So why is that a bad thing? Because all people with privilege, whatever it is, everyone has a certain type of privilege, should use that to help those less privileged. So big up, guys, big up James Aspey, Joey Carbstrong, Earthling Ed, all you guys using your white male privilege for good to help the less privileged and the more oppressed animals and people and beings. So love you guys, and I've got nothing bad to say about any of you. You all do your practices in many different ways, and I think you're all top guys. No matter what words you use or way you advocate, you put your all and your heart into it and have made it your life's mission to help others. So can't fault you. Love you guys. people always ask, why is it mainly like there's more females in the vegan movement, more women in the vegan movement, but more guys that are famous vegans? Well, that's just the world we're in, and that is the white privilege, but that's not their fault. They're just using that as a tool, well, not a tool, but using their platform in the way that they use it. But it's our society that's made it that people listen to white cisgender guys more. So that's on society to change the ways, you know? Let's make other people more heard. If you're triggered by them saying those words, let's ask some people who are victims of rape and who are victims of the Holocaust, human holocausts, to say what they think on the issues and their comparisons. You know, Gary Yourofsky, he's Jewish, and he uses the term Holocaust to describe what's happening to these animals, because the correlation is uncanny. So you're going to use that word. And also, like Joey Carbstrong said, people may find these words offensive, and people in the animal rights movement are saying, oh, these words are offensive. Yet we show animal footage to people of what's happening. That is offensive because it's horrible what is happening to these animals. That is offensive. But if that's okay, but we can't use certain words, it's just really daft. I think it's really daft not being able to use words. It's how you use the words. You know, you can use the term rape to explain what is happening. You know, a sexual act against someone's will. But, you know, if you used the term and been like, I'm gonna fucking rape you, then that's horrible, and obviously don't do that or use that. But if you're saying, oh, you know, these animals are being raped and nobody's listening to them, everyone's victim blaming to fuck on a mass scale to these innocent animals. What have they done to deserve this? If it was humans, what would we be doing? We'd be in outrage, screaming and shouting. So why is it any different? Because they're born animals, different animals. We're animals too. But we share a lot more of the same emotions. We share the same emotions. The only thing we don't share with animals is ego. Because humans have got massive egos that we need to keep in check and harness. We are not our egos. And most people go around thinking we're our egos. I'm this, I'm that, I do this, I do that. You do this. You know, us against them, arguing all the bloody time. When are we going to create connection, guys? When are we going to realise we're one? We are one. With all those animals that are suffering. And if you were in their position, would you care if someone used the term rape or Holocaust to describe what you were going through? No, you wouldn't. You just want people to get you out of there and protect you by any means necessary. Anyway, I think this has gone on long enough. I just needed to get that off my chest because I think it's, you know, it's daft. It's annoying me, all this, white privileged stuff. Do you know what's white supremacy is? Animal fucking agriculture. The whole system of it all. And it's oppressing everyone. But mostly people of colour. And people, marginalised people. You know, it's the people that don't have any other options that are working in the slaughterhouses and suffering, especially in these times with COVID and everything, can't social distance there. You know, in America where they spray all the pig shit, it's all in areas where black people, Hispanic people, you know, people of color living in these areas that are feeling the brunt of that and getting horrible illnesses that's killing the people, and, you know, children with serious asthma and health risks and lung problems, and also just feeding crap processed meat and junk food that's carcinogenic to the poorest people. Everything is all an illusion, and, you know, vegans are trying to wake people up and get us out of this illusion to live more compassionately and love more. And I just think we don't need to diss anyone for what they're doing. They're taking action. If you have an issue with it, well, do things your own way and get out there and do what you got to do, you know, get the knowledge, get the information, and then you can go out and use what language you want to use. But, you know, some of these people that are using these terms like Holocaust and rape have been to many slaughterhouses and farms and actually been in there, seeing it firsthand what is happening. So I feel like they're probably the best to describe what's happening. And when you hear the pigs screaming in the gas chambers and go to one of these places, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's heart-wrenching. Heart-wrenching. Everyone loves their dogs and cats. What if it was dogs and cats being gassed to death and carried off in trucks and slaughtered and chucked in piles and all sorts of abuse happening? I think people would feel a lot differently then. Oh, sorry. Anyway, rant over. Just needed to get some of that off my chest, start a conversation. Just, yeah, I think we should be supporting these vegan activists and not trying to censor people all the time. Censorship. We need more free speech about some of this stuff, you know. We've just let Trump be in power in America for all that time, chatting a whole bunch of crap. Yet people can't explain what's happening to animals with a word that explains it perfectly because humans have owned that word. Doesn't matter what you call it, it's happening. So wake up, get knowledgeable, be vegan, love each other, expand consciousness and grow, you know. You are loved, you are worthy, and we are all so powerful, and each of us as individuals have so much power of what we can achieve in this world and help each other. And just by healing ourselves, we heal the whole planet, you know. Great shifts are happening right now. So meditate more, eat your greens, drink lots of water, get in tune, get into nature, and just be the change you wish to see in this world, okay? Love you so much, guys. Peace.